Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to start learning a new piece. The piece that I've chosen is the first movement of the Bach Partita in C minor. The reason why I've chosen this piece is because I really like it. I've been wanting to learn it for a very long time. It's on the ATCL repertoire list, and it's been a little while since I've played some Bach. Okay, now that we've got some recordings, let's go get some sun and do some listening. Alright, so I just got back from doing some listening, and there's a few notes that I took, but I think overall some of the things that I need to pay attention to when I'm learning it are phrasing, articulation, tempo, and ornamentation. I've noticed that performance authenticity in the realm of classical music is a really big deal, especially when you're talking about the music of someone like Bach. There's so much research out there that it's a good idea to at least go and check it out to make sure that, one, I'm not making any terrible mistakes in terms of interpretation, but also to help me understand better what I might want to do here. Johann Sebastian Bach is one of the most famous and respected composers of all time. Born in Germany in 1685, he is considered one of the most important composers of the Baroque period. This partita is one of 6 that were published individually throughout the late 1720s and then compiled into his first keyboard publication, Klavierübung, in 1731. In terms of phrasing and articulation, there's 2 things that I found were worth noting. The first is that 18th century articulation and phrasing tended more towards non-legato than legato, but it's very important that it should not be uniform. And that's, I think, the thing that, well, at least I thought when I thought non-legato and legato, I thought it just had to be a uniform non-legato. That's not the case at all. You can have a variety and a spectrum from staccato being the least connected and a really overlapping legato. And as we heard in the recordings, that's exactly what the performers were doing. So that's the first thing in terms of phrasing and articulation. And the second is that because pianos nowadays have more expressive qualities than the keyboards did at the time, it's actually a good idea to check out treatises that were written for wind instruments, because then we'll get a much better picture of the kind of possibilities that we can get with phrasing, because all the nuances that were not possible with keyboards at the time now are sort of possible-ish. Not as good as wind instruments or violins, but it's a really great place to get some ideas. In terms of rhythm, one thing that I noticed in quite a few recordings is that some of these dotted rhythms were compressed to varying degrees, and I've heard in places that these types of dotted rhythms should be compressed, and I never really understood why. But apparently it's because overdotting the notes was really, really common in French style of overtures, which this apparently is. And I think that it's actually worth considering, although I've heard some examples that probably take it a little bit too far. So, overdotting, yes. Too much, probably not. Another thing that I noticed in those recordings is that some people rolled the chords, some people staggered them, and others just played them just as blocks. And I thought that was just a purely aesthetic and personal decision, but it turns out that for harpsichord, it's actually pretty common practice to break chords in some way, because it helps prevent a sort of harsh and clunky sound that you get from all these plucks going on all at once. So that's something really interesting that I'll be thinking about when I'm learning it. Alright, and that's pretty much all of the prep work done for this piece. Now the next step is for me to go and memorize it, and that is not going to be very interesting. It's just repeating, mental play, and more repeating. But the next time I check back in, it'll probably be to talk about and figure out the fingering and the speed for some more difficult areas. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.